Hey, today I'm going to show you how to add Unreal Engine environments to the Skyglass app that you get from the Unreal Engine Marketplace. And I'm going to take you from the very beginning all the way through to the end where you can actually use it on your phone with the Skyglass app. So there's a couple things you need to do before you're able to do this, and I'm not going to go into great detail on how to do them because we've already made some videos on it. But one of the first things you need is you need a Skyglass Studio subscription. That's the only way that you can make your own environments and upload them to the app. The second thing that you're going to need is the Skyglass Forge plugin for Unreal Engine. And you need to go to our web app, sign in, and download the plugin for Unreal Engine 5.3. Be sure that you're using the most up-to-date Unreal Engine 5.3 because this isn't going to work on any of the older engine models. So once you have that plugin installed, then you can get to this step. If you have any questions, I'll link documentation down below. Be sure to join our Discord and we can answer technical questions there as well. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's jump right into actually adding an environment. So the first thing that you want to do is find the environment you want to use. So I just launched the Epic Games launcher here, and I'm going to go to the marketplace. You could also get something out of your library if you've already downloaded or purchased environments in the past, but we're going to start with the marketplace so we can find a brand new one from start to finish. So what I'm going to do is actually just go to the free for the month ones here, hit view all free products, and this one looks cool. I saw it earlier. This cigar room environment has some really cool lighting. And so what we want to see first is that it's going to be supported on Unreal Engine 5.3, which it is. That's what we're using. So that's most important. And then also needs to work on PC because right now this plugin only works when you're using a PC. And then something else that I always look for in the description of an environment is to see if they're using any plugins, because we're using a custom build of Unreal Engine for Skyglass, and if it requires a plugin, it may not work in the app. So you just want to make sure that there aren't any random or weird plugins that are needed for the environment to work. So I'll take a quick look through here. So it looks like we're good. And this is also built for Lumen, which is great because we're using Unreal Engine 5.3. And our project for the Skyglass server is all built with Lumen. You can do it with static lighting, but it's best if possible to use Lumen. So we know that this works, so I'm going to go ahead and check out with this. I'll just click on free. All right, now that I've done that, it's going to be ready to add to a project. So let me minimize this and we'll just launch Unreal Engine 5.3. All right, now that this is open, I'm going to click on games and we're just going to go with the default blank here and name the project. And I'm just going to call it Cigar Room. You can name it whatever you want. You can also save it wherever you want. And where you save it is going to be different than me. You could put it on the desktop, whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and click Create. Now it's going to create that blank empty project for us. All right, here we go. So here's the empty shell that the Cigar Room asset is going to download into. So I'll go ahead and minimize Unreal Engine. I'm going to close the content browser. Let's go back to the Epic Games launcher. And for whatever reason, that just closes by default when you launch Unreal Engine. I don't understand that, but let's go to the library and let's see if we can find that Cigar Room in the library here. Okay, there it is, Cigar Room environment. Click on it, and then I'm just going to click on Add to Project. Then we'll scroll down and we'll find our Unreal Engine Cigar Room project that's just empty, and it's for 5.3, and I'll hit Add to Project. Now it's going to download this asset into our project. It's less than half a gig, so it shouldn't take very long for it to download. I'm going to launch Unreal Engine again, and we're just going back to this Cigar Room project that looks empty still, but you need to open the content drawer, and there it is. So I'll click on Cigar Room. Let's go to our maps. This is usually where they're at, and then I see Cigar Room. So this should be the showcase room that comes with it. And sometimes you download environments and there's multiple different ones, like maybe it's lit for day, then it's lit for night, or sometimes it's like a snowy scene or a rainy scene, that sort of thing. So you may have multiple maps and you can import all of those maps to Skyglass. All right, so this is opening up. It's preparing the shaders. Looks like it's going pretty quick because this is kind of a lightweight environment. So it's nice when they're smaller, they go a lot faster. Okay, so everything has finally loaded up. And I can just look around in this little room, see what we're working with. This looks really cool. I love that lighting coming in through the shades. Very noir. So let's hit play and see if everything looks good. Okay, starting to load up. It's got that auto exposure. The room's a little bit dark. Very moody. Now what I'm going to look for is a player start. So up in the upper right hand corner, I'm just checking to see if there is one. There is not. And Skyglass needs one. So in the upper left hand corner, we're going to click on this little plus with a cube, go to basic and click on player start. And there we go. It popped in and it's kind of outside of our model right now. So I'm going to go ahead and use these arrows to try and just drag it into the room because we want our character to populate inside of the room when inside of the app. Okay, there it is. And you want to put this where you want it to actually enter the scene when you open the app. So I'm going to move it around a little bit. And you're getting that bad size warning, or I am, because it's intersecting with other objects. And we don't need this cinema camera, so I'm just going to click and delete that real quick. Kind of hard to tell from this angle, but I must be hitting this couch. There we go. So now it's gotten rid of that bad size warning. And also this long blue arrow is the way that it'll be looking when you start. And I don't want it to be looking at that door. So I'm going to go down to rotation here and rotate this around so it's facing the chair and the windows. And then I'll hit play just to verify that it looks good. So when we launch this in the app, this is the viewport that you're going to have. It's going to be looking this direction, and this looks great. Really, this should be good. And what I'm going to do quickly is just do a save all on this to make sure that that little player start has been added properly. And then I'm going to do a couple quick checks because sometimes there can be some things that happen in the environment that interfere with Skyglass. So I'll open the content drawer and there's some things you want to look for like sequences. If there's like a little movie sequence that starts as soon as you hit play, you're going to want to get rid of that because that will mess up everything that's happening. So just going to go through each of the folders to make sure I don't see any sequences happening. And now we're ready to go to the next phase of actually getting this into the Skyglass Forge project because we just opened this in its own brand new project. Now we need to migrate everything to the Skyglass Forge project that you downloaded from our web app. So I'm going to go to the content drawer and we're just going to be migrating this cigar room. You don't need to migrate any of these other ones. So I'll go to it, I'll right click, and then we're going to go to Asset Actions, and I'm going to click on Export Migrate. And I want everything in there, so just leave everything checked and hit OK. Yeah, so these files should all go to the same spot inside of the Skyglass Forge. So mine is saved inside of Assets, Skyglass Forge, and then inside of Skyglass Forge, this is where you double click on Content, and this is where everything's going to migrate to. So for you, you're probably just going to have Skyglass Forge as your top level folder, and then you're going to go into Content, select Folder, and then it's going to begin the migration process. Depending on how big your asset is, it might take a couple minutes to migrate. It might go really quick like it did just for me now. Only took a few seconds. So the migration should be done. So I'm going to minimize this version of Unreal Engine. And now I'm going to open Skyglass Forge, the Skyglass Forge Unreal Engine project. Yours might be saved in a different spot than mine, but here it is, Skyglass Server. And I'll go ahead and open this up. Okay, now I have the Skyglass Server project opened up. And if you're doing this for the first time, yours is probably going to be empty. It's going to look different than mine does. But there's a couple things we need to do first. On the content folder here, I can verify that the cigar room did transfer to there, but this is not in the right spot yet. So what we're going to do is go up to File, and then from the drop down, Skyglass Forge, and we're going to click on Create Asset Pack. And this is where I'm going to name it. And I'm going to name it Cigar Room again. And it's going to go inside of Skyglass Forge // mods. So that's the folder that you're going to want to put this inside of. And then I'm going to hit create mod. And there we go. It was created successfully. So that's basically just a folder that we're going to put the content into. So here's the cigar room. Yours underneath plugins is going to be empty if you just did this for the first time. Mine has a bunch in there because I've been adding a bunch of assets, but yours will probably be empty except for the one we just added, which was cigar room content folder. So what I'll do is I'll take this top folder and I'm going to drag it into the cigar room content. And then it'll say, do you want to copy it here or move it here? I'm going to move it here. And this will take a minute, again, depending on how big the asset is. Could take a couple minutes to transfer. It could go really quick. It just depends. And with Unreal Engine, you know how it is. Sometimes it can be a little glitchy. It looks like it's still in the content folder only, but it probably has actually moved down. So let me go take a look inside of our plugin. All right, so it just kind of glitched there for a second, and now it's not in the content drawer anymore. So it did move down to here under plugins, Cigar Room content, and here's the folder. So Unreal Engine is just a little bit glitchy sometimes, but it did move. And I'm going to go back to maps where we were before, and I'm going to open the Cigar Room again. There we go, it's opened up. And now what we want to do is see if everything transferred over properly. So I'm going to hit play and see if everything is behaving properly. Sometimes when you bring it into the Skyglass Forge project, things behave funny. Sometimes the lighting or something doesn't all load up properly. So let's take a look and see what we're working with here. It looks a little bit dark to me. What I'm going to do is look at some of the lighting settings here because we are using Lumen in the project. So in search in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to look for the post-process volume. We'll go search inside of it for global illumination, and I'm just checking the settings to see what it's set to, and by default it's set to Lumen, which is what we want. Let's see. Yep, that all looks good. So now I'm going to go down to exposure and see if there's any settings on here that are happening that it might be weird or interfering. So nothing's on, so I'm going to hit metering mode, check that on, and I'll just do auto exposure histogram. There's a couple different options. And let's see, sometimes that does the exposure a little bit better, uses the histogram to expose it properly. Okay, it's still very dark. Instead of the auto exposure histogram, I'm going to do basic. See if that looks any better. I feel like it's blooming too much. Like when you turn the camera and it goes right into it, it blooms too much. So I'm going to quickly adjust that. And I'm going to just go to bloom here. I'm going to see if I can change some of this. Drop it down a little bit. So it's at 0.65. I'm going to change it down to like 0.1. Yeah, it's a lot better. It's not blooming as much as it was, but I still think it's a little bit too much. Again, this is all to taste, so I'm just going to put it at 0.05. Really, really low amount of bloom, so it doesn't just look crazy blown out when you look over this direction. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. I think this is proper though now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit save all. This is the next important step. I know that took a lot with the lighting part. You could just skip past that if you didn't need to know any of that. Then from the top left, you'll click on File, go down to Skyglass Forge, and then hover over Package Asset Pack. And we're going to package the Cigar Room. And then this is where you have to decide where you want to save it. You could really save it anywhere that you want to, but I save all mine in the same spot. So I'm just going to put this in this staging folder. And there we go. The packaging has begun, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner. And again, depending on the size of the asset, this is a really small room that was 0.5 GB. It shouldn't take very long to package, maybe a couple minutes. But if you're doing a really large asset with a lot of animations, sometimes it takes 30 minutes. I've seen it take up to an hour to package. So it really depends on how big and heavy your asset is. Okay, the asset just finished packaging. I got a little notification in the lower right with the green check mark saying that it was complete. So I'm going to minimize Skyglass Server. And what we're going to do next is open the web app. So I've already got it pulled up here, and this is just app.skyglass.com, and then you'll need to sign in. Yours is going to look different than mine. If you haven't added anything yet, it's going to be blank, like my personal one here. Nothing there. You'll click on New Asset Pack. But because I'm going to be adding this to Skyglass, which is accessible by everyone, this is where I'm going to do it. So I'll click on New in the upper right, and then this is where I'll begin to upload it. So click on Upload, and then we need to find wherever you saved your file for export. So mine was in staging, and then let's go to the Cigar Room, and there it is. It should say the file name .sky, and if it's not a .sky file, it won't work. So I can see that here. I'll hit open, and it'll start uploading right away. Sweet, very quick. It was pretty small, only 250 megabytes. So now we need to add a name for it. So I'm just gonna call this Cigar Room. And then I'm going to put a simple description, which I'll do a smoky cigar room with shafts of light. And I'll add a few other pieces of metadata because we want to be able to search for this. So next thing that we need is, this is really important, is the path. So if you don't put in the correct path, this will not upload into the app properly. So I'll go back to Unreal Engine and where we were editing it in Skyglass Forge, open the content drawer, and then I'm going to go back to the map, the cigar room, and whichever map you're working on, you need to get this for. Maybe if you have multiple maps you're uploading at once, you're going to need this. So I'm going to right click on it and then click on copy file path. All right, now that's copied. Let's go back. And I'm just going to paste it in, and you actually don't need this whole file path. This won't work if you put the whole thing in there because it's referencing my own computer. You can see the C drive. What you need is actually everything after content. So I'll delete this, and it's going to start with the name of the project, which was Cigar Room, and then maps, and then it was and then the name of the map inside of the map. You know, yours is going to have a different naming, but really you just need everything after content, and you can leave the .umap. That's fine. Now I'll add a couple tags just so I can find this easily. Now just about everything's done, except we need to upload a thumbnail. There's a couple different ways you can do it, but I'll show you how I'm going to do it, which is really the quickest and easiest. Is I'm actually going to get some of the images from the original asset. So I'll just go back into the free for month. Cigar room. Okay, here it is. And this is a great image itself. So what I'm going to do is actually just open this in a new tab, and then I'm just going to drag this right onto my desktop. You can obviously do this any way that you want to, but that's what I'm going to do here. And then I'm going to open Photoshop because we're quickly going to edit this into just a simple 1x1 image. And to enter, and then I'm going to resize this. You can, of course, use any app or software that you want for doing this, but you do need a 1x1 thumbnail. You could do it up to 1080p. Just needs to be beneath 2 megabytes in size, and it needs to be a JPEG or a PNG. You can save this anywhere that you want to. I'm just saving it to Google Drive so I can quickly get it on my virtual PC that I'm working on, because I'm working on PC and Mac. And then you want to look at the size, make sure it's beneath 2 megabytes, which it is, and I'll hit OK. All right, now I'm going to go back to my virtual machine here, the PC, and I'm going to open this on Google Drive. You know, you're not going to have to do all these steps because I'm working between multiple machines, but really you just need to create that simple 1x1 thumbnail. Okay, there it is, Cigar Room, and I'm going to download it from Google Drive. There we go, it's downloaded. Now let's go back to the Skyglass app on the web app. Hit change thumbnail, and then mine should now be in the downloads. There's Cigar Room. I'm gonna hit open, and there we go. So it looks like everything's good. I just confirm everything before uploading it. It's uploaded properly. I got a good name, a couple little bits of description. Looks like my file path is good, a couple tags. And then if you want to add another asset from this same asset pack, maybe there's another map, like a nighttime version or something, or a snowy version, you would hit add asset, and then you would do all this again. You would add the file path to that specific map, a name, everything like that. But you can add multiple ones. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 different assets inside of that pack. So I'm just gonna hit save, and there we go. So now that is saved inside of the web app, which means it should pop up on my phone. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so now I'm going to open the Skyglass app. Here we go, and I'm going to go to the library. And here we go. I see it inside of the Skyglass row. Yours is going to have a different name than Skyglass, but you'll have your own custom row. I'll tap on the Cigar Room, and then this is where it takes a minute for it to upload because it's the first time it's ever loaded in the app, so it has to actually load up on our servers and save in different regions and that sort of thing. So it can take sometimes a couple minutes for it to load the first time. So, okay, so now it's loaded. I'm going to hit set floor height, and it's going to load the final part here. Okay, and I see it popping in. I can see the window blinds behind me with the light coming in, the chandelier, the chairs, everything is appearing. And let me go ahead and just flip this around. That way I can look at it. And yeah, it looks like everything is working. It's working in horizontal mode. Let's make sure that I can actually navigate around this with the game controller. Just want to double check and make sure the asset is working the way that it should. And everything looks good. It's nice and bright. It's exposed really well. Yeah, this looks great. So you could definitely start using this asset now for your own recordings. Okay, that's basically it. Now you should know how to upload an environment from the Epic Games Marketplace into the Skyglass app where you can start filming and making cool content with it. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video.